The big thing with the bodyweight movements is athlete day is almost entirely bodyweight. And if you're looking at the best movements for athleticism, hurdle hops, bounds, single leg bounds, sprints, now you're looking at, all right, well, bodyweight training is extraordinarily versatile in all reality, and we're not going to lose strength. We're actually going to gain strength if they're executing properly. And so I think that's something that we touched on in the beginning, is that a lot of people take that for granted. When you look at the fitness world, it's so segmented and like rivaled almost to a point, but like, how can we piece this together, patch it together into a cohesive plan? We've already got some people in the chat saying what they believe they should be. And I just say push UPS. By the way, speaking of body weight exercises, oftentimes people forget body weight exercises are similar to the ones that we were just doing downstairs, where we had one of our discus throwers who weighs 265 pounds. He just vertical jumped 41.7 inches, 41.7 inches. So I think first, right off the bat, if I would define body weight training or body weight exercises, right? I mean, obviously it's going to be pretty easy to say, okay, it's using your body weight as that form of resistance. And I think that looking at one, if we have zero equipment, so let's pretend that we're on a sidewalk or any place like that, right? We're going to be doing squats, lunges, frog squats, skater squats, pistol squats if you have that hip flexion capability, Cossack squats, hip airplane, single leg RDL, swinging RDL, any type of yoga pose that you can put a little bit of tension, or any type of yoga pose that you can put like a slower eccentric into, push-ups, handstand push-ups, clap push-ups, anything like that. Okay. Then I would get into that next period, which would be like, okay, how can we do some type of body weight exercise where we would use like an apparatus? So in this case, then we would be doing, reclining pull-ups, rope climbs, monkey bars, handstand push-ups here as well, because you would be putting your feet against the wall if you can't stabilize and balance in a perfect position overhead, diamond push-ups, clap behind your back push-ups with your feet elevated, ring push-ups, ring dips, chair dips. And I'm even trying to think through during COVID, when it first hit, like the first, I want to say like 30 days, I did a video every single day. This is before we even went in on YouTube. And these videos still exist, but they're hidden right now. We have some videos of me doing like, knee planks when I'm in a push-up position at a playground, so my feet are on a swing. You can do like almost like a TRX out on a swing if you go to a playground for abs, almost like an ab roller. And so I think that if you're looking at things, then you start to bring in a little bit more dynamic stuff. So if we want to get stronger or more athletic, now you could take like an explosive push-up or a normal push-up, and then you can add in like a depth drop into an explosive push-up, or a depth drop off of a park bench into a bound, or repeated bounds, or single leg bounds, right? So now we're going in and we're looking at it and we're saying, okay, I want to get stronger, and I want to get more athletic. So this is where using your body weight. So let's say here's a really good progression. Let's say that you're trying to master essentially like a pistol squat. Okay. So you're trying to get through that full range of motion in the pistol squat. You're trying to increase the range of motion in your hips. You're trying to have that hip flexion on the leg that you're trying to hold up horizontally. You're trying to lengthen the hamstring to a point. You're trying to work through all that stuff. Then you work into that full range of motion, into the eccentric, and you hold that deep position. Then you get better. Let's say you can do like 3 sets of 10 pistol squats. Well, now how do we get more athletic with the pistol squats? We could do a pistol squat to a jump. Okay. So one thing that we've had wrestlers do in the past is they might do an actual pistol squat into a pistol jump where they land on like a 12-inch box. Okay, so now you're going to be getting a little bit more creative. You've got like a lateral jump. They're hitting it from a very deep position. Same thing with a skater squat. I look at a skater squat. I'm like, okay, skater squat's a very similar position to wrestling if you're hitting a single leg, to swimming if you're coming off the blocks. Watch a swimmer come off the blocks. That lead leg is very similar to what a pistol squat or a skater squat would be. So now you might do a skater squat into single leg bounce. Okay. Skater squat into single leg stair jumps. Okay. Skater squat, skater squat, skater squat into side to side skater bounce, right? So now you can start to get really, really creative. And I think that oftentimes we feel shackled by the fact that, oh, I don't have a weight room, or I don't have equipment, or I don't have bumper plates or anything like that. Well, you can get ungodly strong by doing dips, pull-ups, rope climbs, clap push-ups, feet elevated push-ups, anything along those lines with minimal levels of equipment. So I think that that's the big factor. And when we're looking at how do we here at Garage Strength, what are the best ways for us, to increase someone's athleticism? This says it's not activated. Try again. Something was up with our IG. Our IG was halted. So I think that when we're looking at, the fact of, if somebody comes and trains here at Garage Strength, what are the things that we do? The first thing that we're going to do is get them very strong, okay? We're going to get them strong, and then we haven't even touched on something that I think is extraordinarily important. So we're going to get them strong with weightlifting exercises, snatches, cleans, jerks, push presses, back squats, front squats, single leg squats, zombie squats, right? Bench press, pull-ups, weighted, dips, dumbbell benches, military press, all those things, right? That's how we're going to get strong. So if you're inside of our app, Peak Strength, you're going to be doing that. Then that's day one and day two. The big thing with the body weight movements is what we do inside of our app is then go, okay, athlete day. Athlete day is almost entirely body weight. And if you're looking at the best movements for athleticism, hurdle hops, bounds, single leg bounds, sprints for 40 yards, 40 meters, sprints for 20 meters, starts, focusing on that first 2 to 3 steps, shuttle runs, zigzag runs, circle runs. You could go to a football field and run the circle where the lacrosse field is actually sort of painted in there. And so now you're looking at, all right, well, bodyweight training is extraordinarily versatile. In all reality, you could probably do 1 to 2 days of traditional resistance-based training with 2 days of bodyweight work and get extremely, extremely, extremely athletic and fast and twitchy and elastic. Now, I do think that you've got to be focusing on a lot of mobility work as well, and you can add in tempos where you start, where you explode, you stop fast. You explode, you stop fast, and then you react quickly. So that's where I think a lot of us as coaches sort of we sort of forget the high power plyometrics. And then we also forget how easy it is and how hard it can be actually for somebody to really manipulate movement with just their body weight. I think that's another big factor, is that when you can start to manipulate your movement with body weight, think about step ups, think about triple jump step up. Those things are really, 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 really challenging. And so when it comes down to programming body weight effectively, again, going back to the way we lay it out in Peak Strength, you might see it inside the hypertrophy portion of a leg power day. Okay, you also might see us using body weight exercises like dips actually in like 2A or 2B of an actual upper body power day. Now we go in and we do dips, and we try and get an athlete who, let's say this individual is 215 pounds, they're in 8th grade. It's going to be really hard for them to do dips. But then once they start to master the body weight movement of dips or of clap push-ups, now they're going to get extremely strong. That's where all of this stuff is based off of where we talk about doing 50 clap push-ups a night to get to a 315-pound bench press. That's literally what we've based a lot of our training off of, is getting athletes to do that, and then getting women to bench press 225 and getting men to bench press 315. So that's just some of the big factors there. Now, some of the common misconceptions I also will say, as previously stated, is that people think it's hard to get very strong using your body weight. But then I would argue, if you're doing bounds and you're doing single leg work and you're doing, pistol squats, Cossack squats, single leg step ups, jump lunges, Russian lunges, sprints, backward hill sprints, forward. Now all of a sudden when we're doing this, we're going to get really, really freaking twitchy and really strong. And if you're doing the clap push-ups, if you're doing handstand push-ups, tell me this, okay? If we're doing handstand push-ups and we're able to crank out 20 to 25 pull-ups, are you going to tell me that if I could do 10 to 15 handstand push-ups, that's not going to transfer over to a dumbbell military press? And that's not going to transfer over to a better bench? And if I'm doing dips, let's say I'm doing dips for sets of 20 to 25, you think that's not going to help me with my overall strength? Like, of course it is. So just got to keep that in mind. So those are some of the common misconceptions, but I think that just looking at how many movement patterns we can come up with, how many explosive movements, how many tempo changes, how many degrees and angle changes we can come up with. I mean, we're even at the point now where we're making push-ups where we hold on a PVC, and that's almost like a stiff arm type push-up. So you can get very, very creative with everything, and I think that it's just important that we go through that. Now, I want to bring up some of these classic videos, dude. Wait till you see these guys. So we're going to look at some of the specific videos that we're going to react to here, and then we're going to talk about it, and then we're going to get back into the chat. We're talking about double leg bounce, and so I love having athletes do double leg bounce, and it's really important to understand. He was a beast. Wide receiver. This can be a pretty complicated movement. It can be very intense. Ooh, Husky Dane. So if you're doing, who knows that band, by the way, on my shirt? Make sure that you take. I was at least 265 there. 6 sets with just very maybe short 270. Jumps. It doesn't have to be super intense. Possibly didn't realize I was balding. And as you get more reactive, there's Cam. Cam was just training downstairs. He's sitting in the background. Effectively. Now you can start to have a shorter period of ground contact. Now you Mason could have cycled his arms there a little bit better. There's Earl just completely dead. Even faster. And so I like to utilize double leg these old videos, dude. This is great. Anywhere from 1 to 2 times a week. Again, so this is like a good at-home workout that you can see. Reps. If I'm working with athletes that aren't 5 to 6 sets, 3 to 4 jumps, as strong, boom. We're going to take it easy. We might take 3 or 4 weeks to build up with just. That's like a neck beard. I got that full neck beard there. Over time, let's get to this next one. Explosive knee plank. So this is something I do think that we can do if we're on like a swing. On a hardwood floor. Put a towel. We like the sliders again. I'm talking about a hardwood floor. Put a towel down. Now you can start to do those explosive. Let's see if we can get the next one here. One of the things that you could do is you could set up a chair. You could this is going to get your abs sore. Okay, this is one that a lot of people say, what about abs? What about abs? Right here. Jump as explosively as you can from a vertical position, and you raise those knees. This came out 3 years ago, so this would have been 21. That's where we can start to feel that explosive knee plank really transfer into the tuck jump. Let's jump all the way to the here is with that depth drop, you can land and be ready to engage. Movement for body weight training, and that's going to be champion strides. Oh, here we go. An exercise. This is a complex that I developed. We're actually using these right now with our pro day guys for their starts. I had noticed that Sam, who's a world finalist discus thrower, was a U.S. national champ. He's an NCAA champion in the discus. I love this movement. One of the strongest, most explosive athletes you could meet. Try to be as rigid as possible there. Okay, he's an absolute freak, but I started to notice his strength levels were very high. He could back squat 270 kilos for reps. 600 plus pounds for reps, right? He had a lot of strength. Let's get to this next one here. Best body. This is more recent, if I remember correct. Now it's a year ago. I love it. I get a ton of this during COVID. And when I travel, if I'm all over the place, you'll see me do this. Woo. Dane's going a little quick. Let's cut down that playback speed, Dane. This in bathrooms. This is when I was in the Dominican Republic, right there. Okay, so handstand push-ups. Now, before you say that's something that I think a lot of you guys I have some alternatives that you can try to take advantage of. Improve your handstand push-up. So if you want to argue that the clap push-ups, I would recommend using a balance pad for a target for where you can put your head. Let's say clap push-ups as an example. And if you're in the gym, oh well, clap push-ups are stupid. You can't if you do 15 clap push-ups every single night. That's not going to help you actually increase your bench press. Okay. Here, put my hands just outside of the 30 handstand push-ups every other day or every night for 4 weeks and tell me that your shoulders don't get more stable and that you hit a bigger bench, bigger military press. Come down, back up. And then as you get a little more comfortable, you can lengthen your legs. There we go. One more. Boom. Okay, so we're going to go through here a little bit. More vertical. So if the bench is further away, where their lower back is like this. Yeah. Oh my God, I suck.
There we go, right there.
There you
This
go.
is
With
where
that
we
V
want
up
to
pause,
be.
big,
Our butt is
lower the
point of
video
contact,
volume.
not
Okay.
our lower back. This is a totally different movement. Okay. Do
Usually
sets
Keith
of
is the one
17 to
complaining that
20, and
the
your
volume's
core
too low.
will be lit up. And sometimes I'll even
Okay,
throw in
one
set
more of these
50
GS
to
videos,
basic.
one more GS video, and then we're going to get to, I guess we're just doing 3 GS videos. Okay. Then we get the OTA right here, Chris Barnard.
Athletes. And for today's video, what I want to go over
Chris
is
talks
I
a
want
lot
to show you the 3 strategies
quieter
or
than I do.
protocols that we use when only training body weight to be able to achieve a very similar can. And essentially the goal is to be able to, between those 2 movements, 8 invert, you might need to break it down to total amount of work.
So this video came out 2 months ago, actually.
How many method was very good to be able to go in phase 1 because passion and be able to increase the athlete's abilities. So let's say it's a push-up for 2 minutes. Week 1, you perform as many reps as you possibly can within those 2 minutes. And then essentially next week when you have to perform it again, you're going to be able, your goal
Yeah, this
is
is
to
sort of what
achieve
we were talking
more
about, where it's like
repetitions
change your
within
rest
that 2
period,
minutes,
change the
and that's how
timing,
we
change
try
the
to progress
tempo.
it each
And
week
in this
as we
case,
go.
Chris is saying
Now, the
time your
reason
sets
why
and get as many as you can.
These
A
are
lot of
essentially
endurance
on the
runners
next
will even
phase
use
of
this.
the
Okay, how
progression
far can you run in
is
12
because
minutes?
by going with an
How far
agonist
can
and
you run in
antagonist,
30?
what
You know,
I
and then you
noticed
just
is
try
an
and improve
athlete
that
is able to get
because of
more
the density,
overall
because
work
you're
in that
increasing your
first
pace.
phase, whereas with their faced with one specific movement all out, they can fatigue rather quickly. And so that's why this is a progression to the EDT training we did in the first phase. Now moving on, they're going to have your basic max repetition sets. Now taking the same idea as the push-up, let's say you have push-up, 1 to 3 sets, max repetitions. They're going to go as much as they possibly can until essentially they fatigue and fail. And then they're going to record that number, and our goal is to be able to achieve more each week. So again, we're still increasing the total amount of work. And then finally is going to be our circuit sets. Now these could be within time
Side curtsy.
or set amount
I
of
love those
rounds,
curtsy step
where
ups, by the way.
let's say they have
Another one,
3
great one.
movements, 3 to
Core
5
and
movements. Again,
upper
balancing
body
out.
strength.
And they're going to perform anywhere from 3 to 5 rounds of those 3 to 5 movements, and they're going to essentially try to perform them in the least amount of time as possible. So let's say they were able to get 3 movements, set standard reps on each 3 movements. Let's say they have 3 rounds. And
I think we get that. The point here is like you can get creative. You can use different times to help you challenge yourself to getting more reps done in that designated period. You can use a whole bunch of different exercise types. And then we're going to get into, I wanted to show you guys this paper here. I got to go back over. And if I click on this here, okay, so if we're looking at this, we're saying, okay, the effect, I love doing this, the effect of progressive calisthenic push-up training on muscle strength and thickness. Okay, so real quickly, if we're just analyzing this paper, right, and we're looking at it and we're saying, okay, I want to study this paper. And if you can't see the screen, if you're on Instagram or TikTok, you know, this is what we're looking at. We're looking at this specific research paper. If you go to the YouTube live, that's where we're going to break this down for you. And essentially, we're looking at the push-up versus the bench press, okay? So Kotarski ends up looking at what's the effect of progressive calisthenic push-up training on muscle strength and thickness. And this came out... what was this? This was 2018, March of 2018. And so essentially, if we compare this, okay, calisthenics or a form of resistance-based training right here, okay, continuing to increase in popularity. Why? Because it's easily accessible. It's super easy to do at home. It's super easy to give people access to this. Another big thing, Rhonda Patrick's been championing the what do they call it? The physical exercise bites, or oh shoot, no, it's another term. It's like the just little tidbits. If you work out for 5 to 10 minutes 5 times throughout the day, it's actually really effective. That's stuff that you can do here with calisthenics. So few studies have examined their effectiveness here for muscular strength improvement. So the purpose of this study was to determine whether progressive calisthenic push-up training is comparable with traditional bench press as a technique for increasing muscle strength and thickness. So they got 23 healthy, moderately trained. I would love to know what moderately trained men mean. So I guess at 23 years of age, they completed this study. So 23 moderately trained individuals, men. The subjects were randomly assigned to push-ups or to bench presses, 14 of them to push-ups, 9 to the bench press, and they were trained 3 days a week for 4 weeks. So that's a short time frame, okay? So one thing that we're looking at is that 4-week test. It's pretty simple. I will say, let's just be aware it's a 4-week test. It's not going to be the greatest length, but we're going to see something likely. Muscle thickness, seated medicine ball push-up, or seated medicine ball put, so throwing that like a shot put basically, but with 2 arms. 1 repetition max in the bench and push-up progression were measured before and after training. Okay, so 3 days a week, 4 weeks, 3 days a week, 4 weeks, 14 dudes in the push-ups, 9 in the bench press. Okay. And what they ended up seeing here, results revealed significant increases in the 1 rep max and the push-up progression for both groups after training. So results revealed significant increases in 1 rep max and push-up progressions for both groups. The increase in the push-up progression was significantly greater for push-ups. So when I see something like this, okay, the increase in the push-up progression was much greater for push-ups, for the group of push-ups. So one thing that we can think about here is, okay, if we're looking at that specifically, we can understand that the push-up progression has some skill. It has much more skill. And if we're doing the skill work on a regular basis, like push-ups, then that's likely going to carry over better to the push-up progression. No significant differences were found within groups for muscle thickness. Okay, so for muscle thickness, basically about the same, and for the medicine ball put. The study is the first to demonstrate that calisthenics, using different progressive variations to maintain strength training, programming variables, can improve upper body muscle strength. So all of you that voted and said no, the bench press will not get you to 315. I want to argue with you that this paper here that we're showing on screen might potentially prove you wrong. And so I think the big factor here is just recognizing it is only 4 weeks. Okay. So in a 4-week time frame, it's going to be, it's iffy. The takeaway though is that if we're looking at a 4-week time frame, let's say we're traveling somewhere, or we've got an athlete trying to peak, right? We have this paper now that's going to show us, like, okay, if we have an athlete who has to travel or peak, or maybe we're in season, we can do calisthenic movements for possibly 4 to 6 weeks, and we're not going to lose strength. We're actually going to gain strength if they're executing properly. And so I think that's something that we touched on in the beginning, is that a lot of people take that for granted. They don't think like, wow, we can actually use this if we're traveling. We can use this for peaking. We can use this to back off, and we can still maintain or increase strength. And in this case, increase our actual absolute strength without doing it. So that's some stuff that I think is important. If you guys, if you're over on Instagram or you're over on TikTok, just look up the effective progressive calisthenic push-up training. This is the paper that we're looking at. And it's what's the effective push-up training on muscular strength and thickness. And guys, remember too, if you guys are interested in greater, deeper dive conversations around strength training, around athletic performance, I get a lot of people that will DM me and they'll say, yo, can we talk shop? That's like the weightlifting or the strength training discussion. Can we talk shop? And oftentimes it's hard for me to actually talk shop. But what I would recommend in that case is make sure that you're supporting us, or make sure that you're checking out like the Garage Strength podcast, where we have really deep, in-depth discussions around strength training and around sports performance. And what's up, guys? Our podcast and our channel are sponsored by our own strength training app, Peak Strength. The entire focus of Peak Strength is to provide you guys with the absolute best sports performance app that you could ever imagine. We build out the programs on the back end. We take in all of these different decisions that we learned here on site at Garage Strength so that we can then apply it to you so you can improve your training. So if you guys want to improve your overall sports performance, head over to peakstrength.app, the Google Play Store or the Apple iOS Store. Download Peak Strength. You'll get a free week of training, and then you can start getting on those gains, get those reps done so that you can become a champion. Now, let's get back to the video. Peace. And, also consider becoming a channel member as well. But during these talks, we break down finer details of strength training and everything that you'd want to know about becoming a better athlete. And you can tune in every single Tuesday on our Garage Strength podcast YouTube channel or any podcast app like Spotify or Apple. Okay, so we go into real deep discussions. Will raw milk help get the flu faster? Should that be our first question? No, Keith, come on. Who's influencing you on some of that craziness? I did want to show too. They have a nice push-up progression here. Image. Some of these images are absolutely. It's like, is it really that hard to do a push-up? Andrew just got out of jury duty. I remember we had that talk. How do you get out of jury duty? That's funny. I mean, sort of funny, but not really. So if we even think about this, Prince just asked about, glute activation, fascia. I'm not going to touch much on fascia. I think that's a discussion for, what's the one book I have on fascia? It's like muscle, I see skeletal muscle structure, Anatomy Trains, I think, is the big book that I have on fascia. Yeah, Anatomy Trains. Pretty sure that was like the first one I ever read on fascia. Kinetic anatomy maybe, but I also think that's just, keep that. I don't know. I would rather discuss, if I had a single leg issue with glute activation, I'm going to do single leg explosive glute bridges. I'm going to do jump lunges, and I'm going to do jump step ups. I'm going to do slow step ups as well to get that greater glute activation. Wouldn't it be awesome if Myles Garrett, who's in the chat right now, was actually Myles Garrett? Dude, that would be so sick. Like, Myles Garrett's in the chat. Myles, what's it like to single leg front squat 275 and then back squat 635 in your bare feet? So yeah, as far as that's concerned, I think that's funny. So Andrew never got called, but he was prepared to inject raw milk into every question to weird out the lawyers. That's a good idea. Do you like reverse grip bench at all? This is a good question. Would it be helpful for the shoulders for someone doing a lot of heavy dips? I think that my stance on reverse grip bench, okay, so I remember, I think the power lifter was Anthony Clark back in the day, and Anthony Clark had real bad shoulders and but could squat a lot, and he had to bench with a reverse grip because of that. I want to say he did like 600 or 700 pounds. It might have even been heavier than that. So we would sort of play around with that growing up, reverse grip bench. And the heaviest that I've gone was like 315 for 10. So and that was like at my peak with that. I really like reverse grip bench. I think it's very effective, and it can help you get really, really strong triceps. And it's a very weird feeling. It's like one of those feelings that like your triceps just get destroyed, but you don't really have much pec activation at all. So it's just like an odd feeling. So yeah, I enjoy the reverse grip bench. I think, heavy dips are great too. I do have quite a bit of videos on Peak Strength about basketball specific training. We also have a couple other videos on the Garage Strength channel. Again, one thing that I think about with training basketball players is to focus on something like front squats to a box, or power snatches, or dumbbell snatches, something like that. Walking lunges, stuff like that. Ninja's asking, what's one of the greatest exercises you do for gain some inches at vertical jump? Ironically, I'm going to show Ninja here. So we were just downstairs doing some pro day work, and then one of our throwers decided that, I'm going to see if I can play this. I'll see if I can share this with you guys. Okay. So you can see there. I'll go back. I'll show it to you. This was just like 35 minutes ago. So it's interesting because he ended up jumping there 40.2, and he's like 265. Now, Josh is actually, prior to that, he had jumped 41.7 inches. So one thing, yeah, and he also cold yesterday jumped 36 inches with no warm-up at all. So one that is an interesting test. Okay, when you warm an elite athlete up, you can, if they warm up effectively, you can end up getting about 5 inches on their vertical jump, which is pretty substantial. And Tai G, who's one of our football guys, he had asked, like, dude, how did you get such a big vertical jump? Asking Sam and Cyro. And they're like, I don't know. I mean, Josh is power cleaned 190 kilos. He's front squatted close to 500 pounds. He's back squatted 600 pounds, and he jumps a lot. And those things combined with a heavy body weight, you can still jump really high. And I get it, I guess I guess back squats and I guess power cleans and snatches, they're not going to make you jump high. It's just everybody in our gym who's doing snatches and who's doing cleans and who's doing heavy front squats just happens to have an absurd vertical jump. We had a high school softball player last night. She was vertical jumping off of a depth drop, like 28.5 inches. It's like, dude, because she can power clean 70 kilos. Like that stuff plays a big role. So I think if we're looking at trying to drastically increase vertical jump, you do have to jump more. You have to learn the counter movement, turn around fast, how to have a proper arm swing. A lot of people, forget how to have a decent arm swing. But it's all going to come back to how well can you transfer force into the ground and then help that project yourself back vertically. I think that it comes down to, one thing, and this is a scenario to get off on a little bit of a tangent here. I was actually sharing this with Trevor. Tai G had been doing, over the last 42 days of training, we test vertical jump every single day for football. Okay. Every single day we're testing vertical jump just to see where they're at. And Ty's vertical jump every day, 30 inches, 30 and a half, 31, 30 and a half, 31, 30 and a half, 31, over and over and over and over again. Right. So I said, all right, he's having problems with his front rack, with catching cleans. I said, Ty, let's take cleans out. Let's just go all in on power snatches from boxes, from the hangs, from one box. I think you're going to feel better and you're going to move it a little bit quicker. So this is about 2 weeks ago. The only change we've done in his training program is that we've taken that out and we're saying, okay, now you're doing snatches, and we're doing snatches from a 2 box because that transfers well to a broad jump. It also transfers well to a vertical. Snatches from a 1 box. We didn't change anything else. He's still jumping every single day. All of a sudden, within 5 days, 33.5, 33.8. He has like a 2-inch increase, almost a 10% increase in a matter of 5 to 7 days just by adding that in, because it's a lighter load. It's done at higher speeds. It transfers really well. The joint angles are there. And the feeling is there for hip extension. So I think that when people ask about vertical jump, it's oftentimes comes down to, like, you got to jump more, but you also have to be strong so that you can handle that and turn around as quickly as possible. And I think we sort of forget that quite a bit. Do you have specific exercises for any sport? 100% we have specific exercises for any sport. So, I think a lot of what we do is there's a lot of general work, a lot of general strength that we try to focus on. And then as we're peaking, we do try to dial in some specific movements. It just depends on the sport, BG. It really does. Leg strength is a weak point for me right now. I've benched 260 and I've never squatted 315. I've recently done a variation of the squat every day, less intense on upper body days. Is this a good idea? Gunner jacks. I would challenge you to front squat or zombie squat every single day for 2 years, and you will alleviate that weakness in your legs. It'll disappear very quickly. Zach saying, I don't have a forearm roller, but I put some fat grips on a 45-pound bar and rolled that instead, coupled with pinch rows. Maybe I missed a question here from... Okay, so Chris is asking, with the 50 clap push-ups, doesn't all that mechanical tension time make too much slow twitch fibers? That would take an extremely long period of time to happen. And if you're explosive, and let's say you're doing 10 sets of 5 or even 5 sets of 10, you can get 10 clap push-ups done. You can execute that in a matter of 15 seconds, 20 seconds. It's not like we're doing push-ups for 45 minutes. And I think that that's like another big misconception. It's another big misconception, even on body weight training, is like, one thing for me, and I had this myself, was like, all right, if I go out running, I'm going to get horribly weak. Now, if I'm training for the marathon, I am going to be weak. I'm going to get weaker in the weight room. But if I'm running like 5Ks, dude, you can maintain a lot of strength doing that. I really, really believe that. No, Keist, I have not watched the latest Pioneer video. I haven't checked that out. I'll have to check that out and see what I think. I like most of what the Pioneer guy does. I think that, oftentimes he's freaking shredded, but I really like most of how he produces his videos. I saw an interview with him recently too that I did like quite a bit. I guess what's always been interesting to me about kettlebells, and I feel like this with like the mace, the club mace, with kettlebells, with even sandbags to a point, is I feel like there's like these subsections of fitness. So if we look at like general fitness here, and you've got like strength training, and then you've got like sports performance, and then you've got over here like let's say, I don't know, bodybuilding, right? So that's like subsections. And then within the subsections, you've got like the diehards. You're going to have like the speed people, the functional people, the power lifters, the weightlifters, the CrossFitters, and everything gets like super like, this is my territory. I want to be in here. And then you mine down a little bit deeper and you're into the functional realm, right? Like you're a functional person. And then you go in from functional and it's like, this person's one of the club, the mace people. This person's like functional band person. This person is like, stability person. And then this person's kettlebell person. And it's like, I think it's interesting and it's sort of fun because it's like, if you can have someone master such like a niche little thing of just kettlebells or just the mace or just, whatever else, you can sort of watch what they're doing and just figure out like where you could input that individual's exercises per se. And I was going to share, I wanted to share this one real quick because I just pulled this up. Is it's like, all right, so if I'm looking at Pioneer here, like I'm looking at it and going, all right, well, I love Cossack squats, right? And that's clearly what he's doing. He's getting some good length right there. He's lengthening that hip. Loves those shoes. I was just going to say, loves those shoes. It's funny. Who was doing this yesterday? One of the discus throwers was doing this. Love the Pioneer's mustache he's got rolling. Dude is freaking shredded. He's definitely gotten a much leaner physique. I was going to say, when are we going to get that back pose? And then we got some glute work along with some presses here. Yeah, I genuinely like what he does, and I think it's cool. And I think a lot of that stuff is, when I'm looking and breaking down people's content, it's like, okay, they're like a very specific area, and how can I apply this to a more broad area that has athletes of all different realms and athletes with different goals and athletes with a lot of different training niches within their own programming, right? So we have a football player who might need kettlebell work. They might need more stability. They're going to need more mobility. They probably need a little bit of bodybuilding work. They probably need to clean more. They probably need to single leg squat more. They also have to run faster. And it's like, how do you put all that stuff together? I think that's the one big factor that we've got. I was going to say we've got a t-shirt, a Peak Strength t-shirt, but I think that's the one cool part about what we do with Peak Strength is like trying to take all of these thoughts and all of these ideas and all of these different modalities that when you look at the fitness world, it's so segmented and like rivaled almost to a point, but like how can we piece this together, patch it together into a cohesive plan? And that's really what we do inside of Peak Strength, and that's what we're continuing to do, is to develop that cohesive plan with a whole bunch of different ideas, because oftentimes when you're working with a lot of different athletes that have different backgrounds, they have different body types, they have different sports that they're playing, you got to come at them with a lot of different thoughts to try and increase their performance. So head over to peakstrength.app, the Google Play Store or the Apple iOS Store. You can download Peak Strength today to start getting those swole gains. Was a question to his glute bridge kettlebell press, Keist, and your thought on that. It's funny. So I don't know if I have my pro day sheet up here, but one thing that we do as a warm up, we'll do a single leg glute bridge, and we do a warm up where it's like, okay, we break down the warm up for our football guys, essentially like DTC work here. Okay. Then the specific area. So if we have like a lower body day, it'll go DTC, lower body, neural drive. That's how our warm up is segmented. So we do trunk control, specific body parts, so legs, neural drive. How twitchy can we get your nervous system to fire? And so then when we look at that, to answer your question, we'll do Joel Seedman's rival in fitness is reality. Yeah, that's really good, Andrew. So one thing that we'll do when we're setting that up is like today, right leg's doing a single leg glute bridge, left arm is doing a press. Okay, contralateral work to wake up the trunk. And we'll do that with on a bench press, doing a bridge on a bench press, something along those lines. So for us, I think that, with a Bioneer there, I think that exercise is fine. I think it looks good. I think the one issue I've always sort of had with kettlebells is like, it's hard to like really, really like overload, and it's hard to progressively overload unless you buy like a full kettlebell set up to like 200 pounds. But again, like one thing I like with them is I like how they lay. So we do a lot of like rotational presses with kettlebells. And I think that there's certain movements that we can do that are a little bit more effective with a kettlebell than they would be with just a dumbbell. So that would be my support of Bioneer here and what he's doing. I also think it's like, what's his channel? He's showing like a one arm row with a kettlebell. This is like very simple stuff, but it's also really effective. And if we all just sort of sat down and we're like, all right, if I'm trying to get my feet under me and back into like the world of fitness, like this is a really, really fantastic start. It's like, do this workout 3 days a week, do this 6 kettlebell moves for total body fitness for 4 weeks, and then of course you should go get on peak strength. But before that, you can start with the kettlebell stuff. Let's see here. Let's go back into Andrew's saying you can use lifters for deadlifts, but it's a bad idea. But it's a bad idea. I can't read your entire thing because of something's on the screen here. Flats are better for those. For the overhead barbell press, should my shoulders start at my sternum or can they be 2 or 3 inches? Okay, so I think it's better for like a strict press. I do think it's better to have an actual starting point on your shoulders, on your collarbone. And it's interesting because Chris brought this up, where Chris doesn't like catching a clean because he thinks it hurts. He does say it hurts his collarbone. And I would argue it's like some people can sort of just get like a callus developed on their collarbone, and that distress will go away. Some people, it never really does go away. I would argue, try to clean, try to improve, even doing like a back bend here, like a back overhead, even doing things like that will lengthen the lats and get you more active in your upper back, which in turn is going to help you in that front rack position. And I even think will help you with that strict press off your shoulders. Let me know if that makes sense there. That would sort of be my answer there. Let's go back up top here. I think as far as like if I was looking at, I don't have a forearm roller yet. So if I was looking at somebody who needed to increase like physicality, okay, physicality and foot strength. Well, first of all, rolling on the PVC pipe is great. But then if we're looking at physicality, I think there's 2 aspects to define physicality. One, the video we just did on mat strength yesterday, that video to me is a really freaking good video, specific to wrestling, but also to a lot of sports where you can learn how to learn that knack of physicality. Rope climbs is going to give you that physicality that if somebody sort of bumps into you, you're going to know how to hold that tension. And physicality really comes back to like DTC and having a tight core, having that tight trunk so that you're stable when you're trying to apply a large amount of force to your hands. Okay, so having basketball players who would impose physicality I would probably start them with like a front squat. And then I'm thinking about like Myles Garrett. I know he's a DN, but you take Myles Garrett, who's tall, and he's doing single leg front squats. Now we're having trunk build up here, okay, but we're also going to see some more tension in that single leg position, which is going to transfer really well over to basketball. Then you add in pull-ups or weighted pull-ups with some slow eccentric, some explosive clap push-ups. There is some pummeling, some hand fighting in basketball, and if you can learn how to master that, that's going to go a long way. So I think that oftentimes with basketball players, they don't want to lift that way because they think it might impede on their shot or something like that, but I really believe that that's stuff that we can do to help improve that physicality. Actually, Andrew just said, as long as I don't let the bar crash, it doesn't hurt. I will say that too. It's like as you clean, and if you can think about getting your elbows back and bringing your chest to the bar, that's going to help rack the bar in a position that it shouldn't smack your shoulder blade or your collarbone. Best exercises to become an immovable object in grappling, like resisting throws in judo and controlling the clinch in wrestling or Muay Thai. I think this goes back to heavy cleans with front squats, single leg front squats. I think you could place an argument here for deadlifts. I think some people would say Zerchers, but I would be very hesitant or skeptical because I still think that it bangs up the elbows too much so that then you can't press as much. And I do even believe that there's going to be some carryover to a heavy bench as well. Should athletes still do athlete day, even if they're in a sport with a lot of plyometrics? Thinking about badminton or karate and anything along those lines. Imagine if it's a thin line of not overloading them. I would say I agree with that. Okay, so think about this. So Sam Black, Cheyenne Williamson, she just won the U.S. Indoor National Championships. Sam Black has been top 6. He's gotten second in indoor nationals in the decathlon or heptathlon. He's a great athlete as far as like decathlon is concerned. Absolute animal. He actually brought this up to me as far as like, I do a lot of jumps in my training sessions. So we're doing a lot of hurdles. We're doing a lot of high jump. We're doing a lot of pole vault. We're doing a lot of long jump, a lot of sprints. Should we really be, thank you, Earl, should we really be doing some other types of jumps? And this is something that I've sort of taken on myself. So we're creating some other external concepts that we're referring to as sport depths, and we're trying to build them out and essentially try to comprehend, okay, how much time is a group spending, in their specific sport? How much time are they spending in the weight room if they play field hockey, if they're a swimmer, if they're a lacrosse player, if they're a football player, if they're a wrestler? How much time are they spending on the field versus how much time are they doing supplemental training like sprints or lifting? How much time are they using for recovery? And we're trying to figure this out so that there's less impediment or there's less potential carryover between doing too many jumps in their specific sport. Have you ever seen the video with Kula Strength? Yeah. So I don't know Kula super well. I know him well enough to say hello to him. I actually sat next to him, I want to say 2 years ago at U.S. Indoor Nationals. I think they do a lot of great stuff to increase foot strength with Christian McCaffrey for sure. Absolutely. What should athletes eat when stuck at an airport for a layover? I always err on the side of not eating anything or trying to get some salad with chicken. I always just go real simple, very simple, and a coffee, obviously. Is peak strength going to get any cheaper in the future? I would want to buy that next year when I start my student life, but I don't have as much money as a student. R2, what I would say is if you would buy like the yearly plan, it's substantially cheaper. I think you get 2 months for free if you buy the yearly plan. I think that's how that lays out. I'm going to head downstairs. I got some weightlifters that are getting ready to hit some big lifts before the Arnold. That's next week. So you guys, thanks for tuning in this week, and I will see you again next week. Peace. Peace.
So hamstrings, not only to make you faster, but keep away from injury. So you can be fast and jump 31 inches like you.
Correct.
Or be old and get hurt like me.
The stronger your semitendinosus is relative to your biceps femoris, the less likely you will be of injuring your biceps femoris.
We understand they're training for this sport. This is a tool to get them better in that.